Hello, hello, hello. I hope you guys are doing awesome. My name is Heather Rodriguez, and today I want to talk about like a little introduction to gut health for fertility. So this is one of those kind of like hidden aspects of health and fertility that you might not initially think about when you start experiencing your fertility journey and you start trying to get pregnant and all of these different things. But this is kind of one of those underlying topics and underlying areas that I feel is very common now because of kind of lifestyles we're living and what the results of that have been. So let's talk about gut health a little bit as a primer. So basically when I'm talking about gut and gut health, I'm talking about everything that has to do from your mouth all the way through the entire digestive system until things come and leave your body. So this is a big issue in a lot of different areas of health. When it comes to the US population, 30%, which is 1 out of 3 people, have some form of irritable bowel syndrome. And 84 of those cases happen to be because there's overgrown bad bacteria in the system. So how is this going to pertain to fertility? It really does. And here's a couple of different reasons. So when it comes to gut health, this is where we are going to be getting the nutrients we need for our food, where it's broken down, where it's absorbed. This is also where hormones such as T4 converts to T3, which is our thyroid hormone, can definitely have an effect. And then also if we have some type of food intolerances, this can be causing extra inflammation and a very strong inflammatory response in the body. Thank you, Marianne. A strong inflammatory response in the body that's causing health issues. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Okay, so first let's talk about food intolerances. So I get asked a lot about gluten. I get asked a lot about dairy. Are these things that I should cut out? Are they allowed in the fertility diet? So my answer to that is always, it depends. It's something that you should test for yourself. So what I mean by that is cutting it out for 30 days, see how you feel, see how you do. Now, gluten is a very specific one for a couple of different reasons. So the way that gluten has become a problem recently is over the last couple of years, or not couple of years, over the last like 20 plus years, gluten foods like wheat has become way more hybridized. It has been changed a lot. Another thing about this food is that it is sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, glyphosates. These are hormone disruptors. So when we're eating foods that have like the wheat or whatever products in it that are concentrated, we're getting concentrated amounts of these chemicals and these hormone disruptors as well. So I think there's a multiple kind of layer to that answer. So food intolerance is going to be different. This is when you have a difficulty trying to digest a certain food versus when you actually have a true food allergy. So someone might be allergic to strawberries. That's totally different than what a food intolerance may be. When a food intolerance is happening, the body is having a response to it because it is irritating in some form or another. So do any of you guys have any type of food intolerances that you know of? If you can, you go ahead and put that in the chat. I would be interested in seeing if you guys have kind of connected with that. But what's happened is, in gluten, there was a study that was done. Gluten was found to have, wheat was found to have 16 different pesticides in it just in one batch. So when you're looking at the pesticides, that's absolutely incredible. 16 different types. So on a daily basis, we're getting micro amounts of this if we're eating wheat. So that's just like one argument for it. The other argument is that for some people, it is very hard for them to digest. And when this happens, it will actually form a type of glue that slides down the small intestine. And this will make it very hard for nutrients to be absorbed. And this will begin to have an issue where the body begins to look at it as a foreign invader, and the immune system has an immune response to it and begins to attack. And then we start having inflammation and a lot more other issues. So this is something that's kind of like in a nutshell how it happens. And then we end up having things leaking out into the system, and it ends up being a whole wreck. I won't go into all of that right now. But what you can do is you can cut it out for 30 days, see how you do. Now, some specific situations where this might be something I would specifically suggest for people to cut out for a certain amount of time to see is if someone's experiencing something that's very congesting and that's very irritating, that already has a very high inflammatory type factor to it. So endometriosis. I mean, endometriosis is like, if you could put a definition to inflammation, would be endometriosis. Also, a lot of studies have shown women with PCOS tend to have biomarkers and higher amounts of inflammation within the body. Same with women with fibroids. This really does make sense, once you understand kind of why these things are happening. So what we want to do is we want to reduce inflammation as much as we can. That's why I talk about antioxidants so much. Cell protection and reducing inflammation. Now, a healthy inflammatory response, a normal inflammatory response in the body is great. We use that for injury, for healing injury, all kinds of things. But when we have these compounds in our bodies that are irritating, and the body's not able to deal with them very well, it just ends up attacking. And then we have this chronic inflammatory response all the time. And it makes it very hard for things to heal, makes it very hard for there to be health and balance in the body. So another one is dairy. This is another one I get asked about a lot. My thoughts about beef bone, dairy and wheat and nightshades. Yeah, see, Claire, yeah, those are the most common ones for sure. So when it comes to dairy, again, some people are perfectly fine with this. I think a lot of it has to do with genetics, and if for generations you drank dairy. I personally can only eat cheese. I cannot drink milk. I will be so sick. But I am half African-American, so that's very common. All right, so dairy is a very common digestive irritant. This causes inflammation on the digestive tract. Again, there's two different issues when it comes to dairy. If you don't digest it very well and it's like a cause of inflammation and you just feel like super bloated all the time, just cut it out. There's so many alternatives to it. Now, if you digest dairy well, definitely going for a raw dairy or organic dairy. So what happens with dairy is when cattle are eating a lot of grains, a lot of corn that are not organic, that are sprayed with pesticides, you're going to actually have a concentrated amount in the fat of the cow from these different foods because every day they're eating them. Also, the fat profile will be one that is going to be higher in omega-6, omega-9 because it's eating corn. So you don't want to eat a lot of corn oil, but that's what's the animal is being made of if it's eating a lot of corn. It's just the way it's going to happen. So I find that that's actually part of why some of these foods are very irritating is because of the types of oils from the foods. I know this is going down a rabbit hole. The types of foods these animals are eating. So you end up eating a lot of corn. Corn oil is basically what ends up happening. So a little side note there to think about, but that's part of how this is becoming irritating. Also, if the body's not able to digest it, there's also going to be issues there. So why is healthy digestion and gut health so important when it comes to fertility health? So some hormones such as thyroid hormone, so T4 converts to T3 in the gut. So if we have poor gut health or we've got a really inflamed digestive system, that conversion could be compromised. Another factor is if we are having a immune response all the time, say to gluten, there's a big connection between Hashimoto's hypothyroid, which is an autoimmune thyroid condition where the thyroid is being attacked. Gluten has been really tied to that. So testing that out, see how you do. Do you feel better, right? That's another factor to consider. So that's why it's going to be important. That's why it's going to be something that's really helpful. So this is a really big topic, but those are kind of two different aspects I wanted to talk about. I have a class coming up next week where I go into detail on how to really help the gut, help with gut healing, help to rebuild the gut through nutrition, through diet, those types of things. Because I feel like this is something that I see so common. I mean, how normal is it for people to have gas, people to have bloating or being tired after they eat? How normal is it for these things, right? But they're not normal. They're just common. It's because something's common does not mean it's normal. So in that class, I'm going to be covering all kinds of things as it pertains to gut health and hormone health, right? So the hormone gut health connection. The class is September 3rd at 3 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. You can go to the link in my bio and you can register for that class. It's totally free. But this is going to be introduction to gut health and a lot of the different things that we're seeing as it pertains to your overall health, your hormone metabolism, and your fertility and reducing inflammation within the body. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game for a lot of fertility issues. It's the name of the game for anti-aging, for more energy, for feeling better, is reducing inflammation in the body. We want that nice, healthy, normal inflammation that happens, but not this inflammation that's happening because our bodies are being overloaded. All right. So I hope you guys found today's topic helpful. And I'm not saying that gut health directly, because you can't digest dairy, you're not gonna be able to get pregnant. That's not what we're saying. In order to have a healthy, optimal body where hormonal health and hormone production is something that regularly happens when there is a better chance for the body to deal with things such as PCOS, endometriosis, those types of things without having so much work to do. Let's lessen that load and make things a little easier. All right. If you guys want more information about fertility, go to naturalfertilityinfo.com and you're going to find a ton of info there. And also register for my class. Link in the bio. Hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye.